Hello and welcome. It's Thursday. Billable Hour Burnout is live. Hello, everybody. Welcome. If this is your first episode, if you're joining me for the 11th episode, I'm so happy to be here with you today. April is National Stress Awareness Month, and we are coming to the final week, the final stretch. And I wanted to share a survey that came out around the study and the state of workplace burnout. So I'm going to give a shout out up front to Infinite Potential, Sally Clark and her team to help on so many of us are needed on this journey to end workplace burnout. I absolutely believe that uh, each of us in those that are fighting burnout or working to end burnout culture, we need each other because there's so many of us experiencing burnout. We know the costs of presenteeism and absenteeism are sky high, over $300 million wasted every year because of the stress that we're experiencing. And to be honest, I feel like that number is way higher. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of today's survey, let me welcome you officially to today's episode. This is Billable Hour Burnout. If you need some helpful tactical advice that actually gives you the career of your dreams, you are in the right place. If you want to finally enjoy the life you spent decades building, you've come to the right place. If you're finding yourself here today, it means you're ready to experience more workplace balance, more ease, more confidence, better ways to manage your time and your stress, and you're ready to do it without quitting your job or burning down your life. My name is Lauren Baptiste, your Big Four auditor turned regulatory tax compliance officer turned burnout coach. And you're listening to my weekly podcast short called Billable Hour Burnout. On the show, each week, I share simple tactics and mindset strategies to help you specifically cater to the modern accountant, attorney, and consultant. You ready for today's episode? Let's dive in. So, welcome. It's April 25th. This year is flying by. We're almost a third into the year. Can you believe it? So, April, like I mentioned, it's National Stress Awareness Month. And as we're closing out National Stress Awareness Month, what's on the coattails? Mental Health Awareness Month. Say that 5 times fast. So this is my time. This is the time I love to really bring awareness because with awareness comes opportunity. If we don't know that we're burnt out, then we just keep working thinking this is how it is. If we don't try to change how we're showing up every day at work, then no wonder we're overwhelmed. No wonder we're hating our life, even though we have checked off so many of the traditional boxes of success. So I just want to share my update. Last week, we did our virtual networking event. Over 50 women registered. Save the date for the next one. It's going to be July 12th. It's a Friday at 12:30 Eastern time. Join me. I'm guessing we're going to have even more registered. I'm guessing we're going to have even more women join, and we're going to keep building on these relationships that help us thrive. So that's been great. I don't know about you. April has been very busy. It's my birthday month, and I usually like to kind of coast and enjoy, but it has been a good mix of leveling up in age and leveling up in my CEO capacity. And I've had to really question the way that I'm spending my time, the way that I'm showing up, the things that are affecting me, and asking myself, how can I do this with more ease? How can I continue to be a product of my product to help you have more ease in your day to day? So, as I'm going through this stretchy growth period, maybe you are too, maybe you are just kind of following along for the journey. But either way, I just want to share that there's room for growth for all of us. So I want to get into the survey because with that awareness helps us grow, helps us work through the tough stuff so that we can come out on the other side having the life we love and a career that feels really valuable. Okay, let's dive right in because I want to talk about today's survey. So it is the State of Burnout Report. It came out this year. It's based on data that's been pulled over the prior year. And this is a study that I find so valuable because it matches what I'm seeing in my work. I'm seeing it with the women that are coming to me in accounting, in consulting, and in law. And so I want to share this study with you and the results of it because what I believe and know to be true is that there's the general population, and then there's the experience that my billable hour professionals are experiencing, which I often see as longer hours, more demands, intense complexity, more stress. And so when you hear this study, I want you to be thinking, does this apply to me? And if it does, what can I do about it? Because some of us, I always feel like we're like surfing on this like razor thin edge of working hard and overwhelmed, but still doing the thing and fully burnt out to the point it has diminishing returns on our careers, on our relationships, and on our health. So, what's the main message that's coming out of this? The way that we work is no longer working. Over the past years, we know that the workplace landscape has dramatically shifted. So, what used to be 5 days a week in the office is now hybrid or slowly moving back to in office, or maybe you're fully remote altogether. Teaming is different. So it's not just how the hour, it's not just where we're sitting, but it's how we're teaming with our people. It's the way that we're doing it. Everything looks different. We are doubling down on technology like AI that's coming up. We're also shifting how we show up. Some of us are working more flexible hours, mornings and nights. Some of us are trying to maintain that traditional 9 to 5. But what I know to be true is that the way that we're doing it isn't working because what's happening is that we're still seeing burnout happening. And if burnout is still happening, then that means that we can still be thinking about better ways to work. That being said, workplace stress has now become colloquialized. Say that 5 times fast. I can call myself out every episode of like, say that 5 times fast. So chronic workplace stress is now, it's the narrative. It's conversational. In 2018, 2019, if you did hashtag burnout, what that looked like was motorcycle drivers. Hashtag burnout now is what celebrities are saying, right? What Olympians are talking about, what musicians are coming to. And it sounds like everybody really understands I'm burnt out. I'm feeling the burnout. Now, if you've been here for the road for the past few episodes, burnout is the symptoms of cynicism and detachment, exhaustion, and ineffectiveness in the workplace. So if you're experiencing those and you're finding yourself, if you were to say on a scale of 1 to 5, you're 3, 4, or 5, then we need to address it because it's becoming serious. I see 3 as stress, chronic stress. So then we have chronic stress, burnout, and chronic burnout that we need to be incredibly mindful of. Otherwise, we're going to see this continue to tip in the negative direction. Okay, so work's not working, burnout is prevalent. What do we do? It's intense, right? And most of my clients that are coming to me are leaders that are trying to balance it for their people, but also for themselves. So let's keep talking about it. I want you to hear a little bit more of the stats and the findings because then we can say, what do we do about this? So number 1, burnout seems to be plateauing. It's established at a rate of 38%. For clean numbers, imagine we say 40. That's 2 out of every 5 friends, family members, colleagues are experiencing burnout. Now, this is showing the same as the prior year, which is why the study is indicating it may be a plateau. What we knew earlier in the pandemic is that the rates were in the 70s and then they've come down. They've come down further. So what we're seeing now at that 38%, it's kind of bittersweet. It's down where double the people were experiencing burnout not long ago. However, if we're hovering at around that 38, 40%, that is a problem in terms of productivity, our people's happiness. There was a different study that came out that talked about workplace happiness is at a 4-year low. So we need to be incredibly mindful that this plateau is good news, but it's also not great news. We need to figure out solutions to properly equip our people with the tools to navigate and overcome and then prevent burnout in the long run. Okay, number two, out of the 38%, burnout is increasing disproportionately. Women are getting more burnout than men. So we're seeing women's burnout is at 42. The rate of men experiencing burnout is at 30%. So we're seeing that women are experiencing higher rates of burnout in the population that is burnt out. Okay, a lot of us will say no surprises there, right? As we carry traditionally the brunt of responsibilities at home as we're trying to level up in our profession. We're seeing more women breadwinners than ever before, which is exciting and also a lot. I was talking to a partner who's a single mom. It's a lot. I'm just talking to another woman professional who has a partner and they're balancing responsibilities, and it's still a lot. Think about travel. Things are different than the way they used to be traditionally. And as we're trying to navigate as women in the profession, still not at that place where we're equal 50-50 with our male counterparts, many of us, right, if we're talking about accounting, consulting, and law, we're in male-dominated professions. It can be challenging. It is challenging. And I want to recognize that. So now it's not just those that are coming to me, even though I primarily work with women, are experiencing the burnout. The studies show it. Women are burning out at higher rates than men. We need solutions that not just cater to the ongoing burnout, but ones that support women specifically. Okay, number three. There is a perception gap about employee well-being. I love this one. A perception gap of employee well-being. What does that mean? That means a lot of companies have these branding messages that we care about our people, or we're the top company to work for. How many of your firms are on that list? I bet a lot of them. But when you look in the weeds of client engagements and what we're doing on a day-to-day basis and not having enough staff and still dealing with layoffs and not filling roles and taking on the responsibility of 2, 3, or even 9 of what I've heard last week. I was talking to a colleague, she's filling a role of 9 people, right? We can't even imagine, right? How much of a gap there is between what we say about burnout and well-being and caring about our people and the reality of what's going on in the day-to-day. Now, that doesn't mean we stop striving. We don't give up on the well-being mission. We don't, as companies, say, well, because there's a gap, let's just forego it. There just needs to be more. We need to bridge the perception gap. So according to this study, managers were saying that people's well-being is at the same or better than the 12 months ago, but then people in the weeds of it are actually saying that their well-being is worse than the last 12 months. So there's the messaging at the top and then reality. And then we're seeing that people are saying, well, it's better, maybe because they're finding flexibility in their day-to-day, but it's worse because they're working at 10 o'clock at night and their quality of sleep is down. See how that can be the same, but worse, better and worse? There's a perception gap about how employee well-being is going as the employee and for sure as the employer. Okay, number 4. Shorter weeks have greater impact. This one I liked. I've seen this study, a different study in Iceland, where they were finding the benefit of the 4-day work week. And now this study speaks to it as well. Shorter work weeks are more effective. People that work less than 40 hours show significantly higher rates of engagement and overall well-being. They're showing lower psychological risk and rates of burnout compared to those working over 40 hours. Now, to my accountants, consultants, and attorneys in the house, you're like, well, duh. Of course, they're feeling less burnt out. Of course, shorter weeks are better. we can imagine every extra hour we work is 1 hour less of free time, of time that I get to unwind on a night or a weekend. Of course. Okay, so what do we do about that? There's a few things. If we are in a solo or small practice, right? We're running our own practice or we're with a few attorneys in a firm, maybe we need to bring on someone else. I was speaking with a partner at a law firm a couple of months ago, and she said they're intentional about keeping their salaries lower than the market, but also making sure that their people have balance and really focusing on the balanced attorney life. And believe it or not, the people join and they don't balk at the salaries that they're less than their peers. They know they're making a choice and it's a win-win for them. They're still making good money, let's be real, but it's not the over the top big law money. They're making a good living and they can have a good life. So good. In accounting, we're talking about this topic of value-based fees versus hourly fees. It changes the game when we talk about the value we bring and the results we give versus that will take me 10 hours. 10 hours times this rate equals. It sets us up for long-term fail. Okay, we're getting into it, and I love this. Number 5, hybrid work is better for employee well-being and quality of work. I've heard a lot of debates about this. I find it interesting to see this in the study. So they say that people in a hybrid work arrangement, that's about 2 to 3 days a week, right, report the highest levels of well-being and quality of work compared to those working mostly from home or mostly in the office. So this is the Goldilocks. What's the just right? What's the amount where teams get to engage properly, learn from one another, and eliminate the idea of FaceTime? I remember in my days of working in corporate that FaceTime it was so real. I would walk around my client site and you see people scrolling on different websites that are not work related because they have to just be there from 9 to 5 and put in that time. And then you see them roll out at the end of the day. What if we focused on getting the job done and doing it well and letting our people then enjoy the other time? There are going to be times they have to work more than that traditional 9 to 5. And then they might be more likely to find the balance when they can then work less than the 9 to 5 when they don't have as much work. How can we integrate technology to balance all of that, right? There's so many areas we can go here. But when we see hybrid work is better for the win-win, I have been hearing, this is over the years, how much, what an interesting case study it'll be to see the effects of the pandemic and remote life on the future of work. So even seeing in 6 years from now, when we hit 2030, 10 years post-pandemic, what's the life of work going to be? What's it going to be for our people? How are we going to team? Is there going to be a gap between leadership and those at entry level that just didn't get the support in the beginning and the training? We'll see. That'll be a future episode, I'm sure. But when we're thinking about hybrid work, it's that Goldilocks sweet spot where I can be with my team, I can enjoy the people I work with, I can collaborate effectively, and I could do the things I need to do at home, which can be my heads down work, the administrative things on the back end, not as interrupted like you would be in the office when you're having all the cooler talk, that water cooler talk, right? So hybrid is the win. Figuring out what that means for your team. I've heard for some, it doesn't have to be specific days, but you just go in. For some, they just say hybrid is like we come together when we need to, and we're also mindful about when we don't need to. Let's see how we can balance that. And so I think teams are still having to figure out what's the right mix. We can even see how back office accounting sees different than front office financial managers or attorneys and their clients and different sects of of law and how often they need to engage, and then they still have to be in court. So we just think about that a lot because there's no perfect solution, but there is a perfect solution for you. And it sounds like there's a hybrid. That's the win. I would love your thoughts there because that's always a good one. Okay, sixth, the last one. Workplace burnout can breed loneliness. Loneliness. Are you surprised? People who experience burnout are twice as likely to suffer from loneliness than those that aren't in burnout. Let's think about that for a second. Now, from a work perspective, imagine working remote all the time. Imagine not having the water cooler talk anymore. All of a sudden, conversations become very transactional and you lose connection. Let's imagine loneliness from a perspective of the shift in the past few years. We've seen that people like staying at home. People have shifted a little bit more introverted. And even those that are extroverted, even myself as a big extrovert, I have been appreciating introverted life more. And I don't want to be out and about all the time. I want to find that balance. But I can also understand why those that are maybe retreating and spending more time at home, not going into the office as much. I've talked about this idea of the third place. Back in the day, my grandparents used to play poker at night with their friends. Like that was their third place. For a lot of us, that might have been the yoga studio or the spin studio or the gym or the art studio. It could have been a lot of places, maybe pre-pandemic, but now we're not even going to our third place anymore. People that aren't engaging and connecting are suffering from loneliness. That loneliness can lead to burnout, and the burnout can lead to loneliness, right? If you're feeling burnt out, you may withdraw because you're so overwhelmed. All you want to do is watch Netflix and you don't want to be around other people. So think about that. Your burnout, if not taken care of, I've talked about this a little bit, but in those 5 stages of burnout, that fourth and fifth stage, there's definitely a big withdrawal happening. So if you're noticing you're withdrawing and you're stressed, ask if yourself, is the stress creating loneliness? Is the loneliness exacerbating my burnout? This is so valuable. I love this study because when we talk about it openly and understand workplace burnout's not going away. Women are experiencing it more than men. Hybrid seems to be the win for solving for this. How do we create more connection? When we think about this in the professions we work with, connection is what keeps us valuable. Connections with our clients, being around each other, teaming up and brainstorming. Regulatory compliance continues to get more challenging. We still have deadlines all the time, and having effective connection with those we work for, those that we work with, it's so valuable. But it starts with us and our awareness that the loneliness thing shouldn't be normal, right? That we're just like feeling the loneliness and not doing anything about it. Maybe like, what's the resistance if we're feeling like we want to be 100% remote or 100% in office? Can we find some balance for our colleagues, for all of us who maybe have a differing opinion? Can we find that Goldilocks just right that works for everyone? What I know to be true is that there is a win-win. But what I also know to be true is that it's really challenging to be in this environment. The speed of life is moving faster, and it seems like there's no end in sight. I was told that I am one of the lucky ones that my body shut down on me 11 years ago because so many partners, women workers, we work ourselves to the bone to the extent where we don't stop until life stops for us. There is a much better way to do the damn thing. And that's what I'm here to say. So as we're coming up at the end of today's episode, I want to invite you, if you are one of the ones that are experiencing the burnout still, and you haven't solved for it yet, I want to invite you to book a consultation with me. It is the easiest, most fun way to get yourself out of burnout. Burnout is not a DIY thing. You need someone who can guide you through your burnout, because if you've been experiencing it, my guess is that you haven't gotten yourself out of it because you're not seeing the parts of you that are keeping you in on the hamster wheel. So I'm inviting you to book a consultation call with me. Now is the best time. I really love working with clients this time of year while they're coming out of their busy season, while they're figuring out how to be most productive, while summer is coming and they think that stress is going away, but then they notice, wait, but it's not. Now is the perfect time to get started. There are a lot of reasons why working now is in your favor, and I want to make this so easy for you. All you have to do, I will add the link to the bottom of wherever you're seeing this. You can click the link and get on my calendar. And next week, we're hitting May with National Mental Health Awareness Month, but we're also hitting Wellbeing and Law Week. It's our time. It's our time to thrive. It's our time to shine. And I want to make this so easy for you. I know it can feel hard. I know we have a million other things going on, but when we solve for this, it solves for everything else. I promise you, I've seen it over and over and over again. All right, so you're going to click the link, book your consultation, and I'm going to have some events coming up. I will be peppering them and surprising you with them. The best way to know what's going on is to sign up for my newsletter. My newsletter is the best way to be constantly engaged with good tips, tricks, techniques. It's also a way that you can continue to stay in touch with me and what's going on. Be the first to know. My newsletter is always the first to know about future events, opportunities, and all the good stuff. So you're going to want to be on that newsletter list. So you can DM me and get on that list, book your consultation, and that's enough for you today. Let's keep it really simple. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, drop a comment and let me know what you think. Come and find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, all the places. I'm there for it. I am on the Lauren Baptiste on Instagram. You can find me at Lauren Baptiste on LinkedIn, Akaloa Wellness on Facebook. You can find me Akaloa Wellness on YouTube. So there you go. So let me know what you think after listening. Give me a little hashtag replay after hearing this. I want to make sure that you and your team and your boss and your CEO all know about this study, because there is so much we can do to better our day-to-day, and I want to help change the paradigm of how we do that. Thank you again for listening. If you want more information about me, Akaloa Wellness, my one-on-one coaching program, Freedom, or anything else, you can visit www.akaloawellness.com. That's ACHELOA wellness.com. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you again very, very soon as next week. All right. Thanks for joining Billable Hour Burnout. Take care.